Moving on to yesterday, Arsenal, you dropped points, Gal. Really poor second half performance. The word is you've bottled it. What was your take on yesterday, and do you feel you've bottled it, mate?
Terrible decision-making from the manager. Terrible performance from individual players. I don't want to see Zinchenko ever in my club ever again. I want him sold in the summer, and I don't think he should play another game.
Agent Zinchenko.
Yeah, Zinchenko definitely is an agent. The guy literally playing everybody on side. You see, my mood changed the moment you bring up Arsenal, because this whole season I've been very happy. I've been gassed about how we've been playing, and deservedly so. But off the back of that performance, it's just like I'm looking at everything and I'm saying to myself, why does this always happen to us in April? We had a mixed performance versus Bayern, where we ended up clawing back and getting the draw, and then we have a terrible performance in the second half versus Aston Villa, and then we end up losing that way. And off the back of seeing Liverpool drop points in the same day and having an opportunity to go clear at the top of the table with no points, with nobody shared points with us. Honestly, Terry, it is those kind of results are the kind of results that we've seen in the last couple of years spiral into a plethora of worse results to come. This could just be the beginning. We could then go see ourselves drop more points in the league, or now go on and have more bad results. But Mikel Arteta needs to make 2-3 clear changes. Number one, Kai Havertz needs to be the number 9. Gabriel Jesus cannot be starting as the number 9. Number 2, you need to have a midfield 3, and you cannot try to do this thing where you have another midfielder that's running into the box and giving the opponent the advantage in the midfield. That was completely a mistake. Zinchenko can no longer be in this side. He's a liability defensively. He doesn't help us in control of the game anymore. And he was Aston Villa's most creative player. And when we're playing at home, where on earth is the fan support? Versus Bayern Munich, a full stadium could hear pin drop after they scored their goal. Versus Aston Villa, after in the second half when they scored, people just were looking to leave.
They did leave. They weren't looking. They did leave. I need to bring you up on something.
Let me just say my final thing. Mikel Arteta, late in the season, this point of the year, your decision making is questionable. We need to figure out, is this a Mikel Arteta issue or is it the player issue? Because there's a combination of both in that game, and it's simply unacceptable to lose in this fashion in a title running at home versus, even though Aston Villa has been good, let's be honest, they're a lesser side than us this season. And they had players out like Douglas Luiz, one of their best players, was out. We cannot have these kind of performances. It's unacceptable. And in my opinion, we've thrown it away once again, thrown away the possibility to go top of the league. And if you want to say we bottled it, frigging crown us the bottle us once again. It's annoying.
Yes. So there's a few things you've said that I just need to pull you up on, because you do a lot of flip-flopping. You do.
It's not flip-flopping.
Wait.
Let me speak.
Sorry. And the first thing you said was you got onto Zinchenko, and you also mentioned Jesus. Last season, at the end of last season, you sold us on the fact that Jesus and Zinchenko were the people that raised your level. They made you from a team that can compete for top 4 to a team that's now going to compete with a title. How has that changed within just 9 months, that now these players aren't good enough for your team? It's not making any sense, because yes, these were the 2 players that made your team, so they took your team to that next level. And now they're the 2 teams don't even fit in your squad. You want them gone. Wait, go. You can speak when I finish.
Okay, so Zinchenko.
No, all right, so now you want them out of your squad. They're the 2 players that you want sold. Jesus isn't good enough to play in the 9. He has to be a backup winger. What is this? You bought him as the 9. You bought him as a £45 million signing to come in as your striker and score you goals. Hasn't scored hardly any goals this season. Has been an absolute flop for you guys. Hasn't raised no level. Also, time and time again, Agal, we have conversations on here where I said April. I said first season under Arteta, when you competed for top 4 with Spurs, you folded in April. Last season, title challenge, you folded in April. Yet again, you're now sitting here and saying, oh, it might be an Arteta thing because we folded again in April. How comes every time that we brought this up, you said, no, it's nothing. That's not a thing. But now you're finally admitting it and seeing that Arsenal, they peaked too soon. You guys have your fun early in the season when there's no pressure to actually compete and actually do it, because the last 10 games of the season, that's when the pressure is on. There's not pressure on in January and December. The pressure's not as deep. because then you know that you've got plenty of games. The league is still going to swing upwards and downwards, and teams are going to drop points. But this is the time of the season where you can't drop points. You can't afford to drop points.
You can't go hiding.
The first thing you do, you drop, and the first thing you do, 2 home games, by the way. 2 home games. There's no excuse that we're playing away. You drop points at Bayern, obviously not really points, but dropped against Bayern, and then Aston Villa, a game you're expected to win.
Bayern with no fans, by the way. They had no fans.
And Bayern with no fans. Bayern with no fans. So Arsenal, Agal, you've sold us. You've literally sold us that you're ready for this. This team is built for this race. Your players. And earlier I heard you say something to Kate and Henry regarding our front line. Have you not looked at your own front line? Because you've got Trossard and Martinelli, who, when they both start, look absolutely horrendous. Martinelli's not been good since last season. Trossard's good as a guy that's impacting off the bench, but whenever he starts, it's worrisome performances. You want to play Kai Havertz in the 9, who had an abundance of chances on the weekend, but he missed them, which Don would have told you, watching him all these years at Chelsea's, you can't rely on Kai Havertz. He will give you what you've seen throughout the whole season, where he's scoring goals, but this is Kai Havertz. That's what all you're going to get from him. And then Arteta persisted.
That's what he does in March as well. He loves doing that in March.
On playing him in the middle. And then Saka, star boy Saka. Crunch time, he failed for you. Yet again. How many take-ons was it done? 2 take-ons, 0 attempts. Yep. Was that not the same he done against Porto? Big game, Saka.
2 attempts, 0 completed.
Okay, let's 1 second.
Against Lucas
I'm not even going to entertain the Saka thing, but you touched on many things. Let me just quickly point out something. When it comes to Zinchenko and Jesus, things can change. You can outgrow players, and I think we've outgrown Zinchenko. We now need to have more. We now, because we have the ability to put Ben White in there, and we have other players who can play there, like Timber when he comes in. I think we've outgrown the likes of Zinchenko. Gabriel Jesus, he is a good squad player. Even we've seen it from City. You're not going to go and beat City with their bench fodder. That's the reality of the situation. I said it on the terrace, and I got crucified for it. But I do think Jesus. If he's going to be our starting number 9, we're not going to win nothing.
He's not a 9. He's a winger.
He's not a number 9. We got to play him either on the wing or utilize him as rotation in the front 3. Now, when you're talking about pressure, there's pressure throughout the whole entire season to keep pace because of the title race with 2 other teams also keeping pressure on you. Yes, in April, there's a different type of pressure, but let's not act like you don't have the same level of pressure to beat City at home early in the season, or you don't have the same pressure to perform away at Liverpool or away earlier in the season versus some of these other teams. It's similar pressure. It's just slightly different as the season winds down. I let you finish. Let me finish. Finally, when you talk about the front line, I don't think there's been any Arsenal fan that has sat here and told you our front line is the best in the league. No, our attack this season has been good.
Oh, no.
Our attack has been one of the best this season. But the reality of the situation is, when it comes to Liverpool, City, and Arsenal, you could say Arsenal's front line is the weakest out of the 3. We've been relying on our defense and our midfield solidity to get us to where we are. So I'm not going to sit here and rewrite the whole history of everything.
I think you should depth. And there's a narrative going around that Arsenal, you know, they need to win a striker. And City won the league without a striker. They played Sterling in the number 9. They played Jesus in the number 9. But Guardiola finds other ways to score goals. Like Arsenal at the moment, when it comes down to these big games, Arteta is just, let's be real, like he's bottling from 8, like George said, from April onwards, they're just falling apart. And that's where managers earn their money. Let me ask you something, Gal. Because I know you're backing the manager, but how many more goes at the league do you think he gets with the majority of the fan base? Because we know there's people out there that want him gone, 4 years without a trophy, potentially. But how many more goes at the title do you give him? Because he's 640 million down or whatever it is.
1 second. One loss versus, what do you call it? Aston Villa. After having 11 games where we haven't dropped points, I don't think it's going to have people.
But these are the crunch games again. This is where you've got to do it.
I hear that, but I think you hit the nail on the head when you said something about the attack. If you look at City's game the other day, for example, you look at Doku's goal, individual brilliance. You look at Kovacic's goal. You can't really say it's individual brilliance too much, but it was from a very far distance. You look at the Real Madrid game, Foden's goal, individual moment of brilliance. We don't have too many of that. We haven't seen too many moments of individual brilliance from our players. We need to so much of our goals are based on the structure, but we don't really have too much.
Gal, why are you not addressing Saka then? Because Saka's the player that's supposed to be doing it. He's Starboy. He's the guy that you compared to Foden. Pretty much tweet about him and Foden. Whenever there's a tweet about Foden, whenever there's a tweet about Foden, you feel so insecure that you'll mention something about Saka and be like, "Look at Saka's stats." I see your tweets all the time. So if he's on the same level as Foden and these types of conversations that you've had so many times this season, we're seeing Foden in crunch time score moments of magic. Real Madrid outside the box, top bins.
No, but this is where
outside the box, hat tricks. We're seeing Foden turn up to a level for Man City that's the pressure's even just as high because the likes of KDB are on the bench. When you put a player like KDB on the bench and you go, Foden, you're going to take the reins. Let's get it right. The pressure is much higher than playing for Arsenal and being for Saka. Saka's had all the pressure on. So why are you not addressing the fact that moments of magic are supposed to come from your star boy?
1 second. Is it the individual players not taking the game by the scruff of the neck, or is it that the manager has them playing in a certain way of structure with structure?
I'm tired of this notion. I'm
giving you guys my honest truth, because how many times this season have we seen out of all the players that you can point out, besides Bukayo Saka taking on a man and scoring one of those goals from bending it around the keeper? Who else? Jesus against Sevilla. We've seen Odegaard maybe once this season take it from outside the box. How many games have you guys actually seen Arsenal score those kind of goals that are like backbreakers, individual player just taking the team on?
The thing is, Gal, what I would say to you is this, right? Arsenal have been in the last 18 months to 2 years what I thought they would be. They've become title contenders, and they are. The question mark was still, do you have it when it comes to these crunk games as a team? And I think, Saka, I stand by what I said for about a month or so now. I think he's playing hurt, and I think actually he's been running to the ground a little bit. That's my personal feeling, and I'm a bit worried about the Euros, if I'm being honest. But you guys were really poor yesterday, and Villa were good, and they deserve credit. But you guys, along with your fans, you shrunk in that second half. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. And I think that's something that, as fans, it doesn't mean you have to turn on Arteta today. I think, though, it is something you have to almost bank. And so we have to come back to this because you are a fantastic team. And if 2 to 3 years running, you've narrowly missed out on top 4, you fell away at the last hurdle in the title race last year, and it happens again, maybe you do go one more year. If then it happens again, you have to look at it and go, well, maybe, just maybe, it is the way the manager has the players feeling, and you may have to look at bringing in that next manager who just takes you to that next level. And I don't think that's something that Arsenal fans should discount from their thinking. And that's where me and Lee Gunnings have a lot of arguments over this, where I don't necessarily think it's just baby out with the bathwater even at the end of this season. But the conversation has to still be there amongst the fans, because you are the reason that rivals are jumping on you guys so much is, whether they like the word scared or not, they're feeling relief today because they are worried that Arsenal might go on to win something big because you're a really good team. But the question is, how do you get to that next stage? Is it staying with Mikel Arteta, or is it looking for somebody new?
I personally think looking at Mikel Arteta and having that in the bank to think about in the future, fine. But at this moment in time, we still have a lot of football to be played. We're still in the Champions League. There's still games to be played in the Premier League. This season's not done. Number one. Yes, City have the advantage, but we cannot just write off the season and start feeling sorry for ourselves. Number one. Number two, I still believe this team, even if we don't win this season, our window of opportunity is still massive. No matter what everybody says, all you guys sitting here can look at this Arsenal team and say they're coming. If they don't win this year, you still see them as a massive threat next season. And changing the manager right now, while we're still making this upward trajectory, could mess up our summer transfer window, could mess up our squad construction. I don't think getting rid of Mikel Arteta at this moment in time makes any sense, especially how we've gone this season and how we've improved.
I want to read you guys something, but go on, Roms.
I think next season will be the very last shot, because obviously, the season with Spurs, you bottled top 4. Last season, no one expects you to challenge for the title. You obviously was there for there or thereabouts majority of the season. This season, you can measure improvement in different ways. Maybe if your points tally is higher or you're closer to City, you're still not going to ultimately win it. But the season after that, I would say if he doesn't do it next season, I think that might be it. I think
Can I flip it though? Can I flip it though? We
Yeah.
didn't get Champions League football. The next season we went into a title race. You could say that's improvement. Last season, people were saying we weren't competing on all fronts. This season, we're clearly competing in the Champions League and in the league late into the year. When we're making adequate improvements year in, year out. By the way, we're in the title race with Pep and Klopp, who are two managers who were still managing when Arteta was at like PSG as a player. So let's have some understanding about who's going up against.